I think that
Yep. Yep.
your profile is not coming across as authentic as your mission. Okay.
Okay.
So it feels to me like the way your page feels is like you're trying to sell me something.
Mm.
Um, right? Now you sell something, right? But
Mhm.
you also have an expertise and a passion around a problem that's very important and also very timely right now. So
Mm.
what you're facing is you are directing your content to monetize it for the short term, okay? And what that does is it creates a buffer between how people consume your information because they feel like they're being sold. Now look, nothing zero wrong with selling, right? Um, but the way you can grow your brand to get to the point where you're getting some of the more differentiated opportunities, like being asked to jump on this show or that show, what have you. Um, it's a long road to get there. You're already well on your way. You know, you have a core audience, you have people that you collaborate with, you're producing content, you mix it up well, you have some stuff that you're sharing tweets, you're curating, you are sharing, your own voice. So you're doing everything that um you need to be doing. So my feedback to you isn't really going to be directed around that as much as it is.
Mm.
I think that where you have room to really improve your game is coming more across with your passion and and like what your personal journey is, more
Mm.
leading with that than leading with the investment tutor stuff. And here's why.
Mm.
Because there's a lot of those investment tutors, right? Like I went on your Wealth
Mm.
and Legacy Summit, and as an example, all of those people that you have in your course are examples
Mhm.
of other people, right? The broke millennial,
Yep.
crushing your money
Yep.
goals, her first 100K. You know how it is. So,
Yep.
so, so that's great, right? Like, there's a market for that, and you're in there, and you've successfully broken
Mm.
in. But this is my personal take, right? I
Yep.
think you are tapped into something that is more powerful than leading with the investment tutor stuff. I want
Mm.
you to share, like, you come from Ghana, you were going down a completely different path that you felt was the right. Like, I want you to really go into depth and reveal the layers of you as a person and what you've gone through
Mm.
and how you came across what you came across, and then what was that journey like kinda getting into it. I wanna hear about the times that you bought your stock and, and this you
Mm.
lost money on it. I wanna hear about the
Mm.
things that you
Mm.
lost money on. Like, I really wanna
Mm.
humanize you as a brand and as a person so that people people just start, like, consuming you differently, right? Like, this is one of the
Mm.
few times I think I've ever done something like this where I opened up my time for folks to buy into, let's say, and,
Yep.
the demand was really there, and I think that's because the trust was already there because people have been consuming me for some time, and I've never kinda had a something up my sleeve that I was trying to sell them before, you know? Um,
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
so for instance, I happened upon one of your tweets where, I'm sorry, one of your, Instagram posts that was a screenshot of a tweet where
Mm.
you were sharing, like a Mother's Day pic for a stock, but you didn't share it
Mm.
in the message, right? You got
Mm.
them, you made it a right hook, like, "Hey, I got this great thing. Um, click on the bio to find out." Right? So, that's okay. That's okay to
Mm.
do. That's okay to do, but personally, I would want to reduce the friction that you're
Mm.
placing in front of the valuable content. It's almost counterintuitive, but
Mm.
Hans, I actually want you to just lead more with the value, and then what you'll find is psychographically where people will place you in their mind is not of one that sells, but one that gives info.
Mm.
And then just that shift alone will make a magnificent difference in your brand and because then on your bio you'll tweak all the messaging where I want you to lead with who you are, why you're doing this, how you got into this, what your journey's been like. And it's not enough to share it one time because you know the deal. Instagram will
Yep.
show but a small percentage of your audience to content, and if it does well it'll show it to a little bit more. But you can it takes repetition, just the same way that
Mhm.
you repeat your you'll lead with a piece of content and then you'll have like the right hook on the back end. You
Mm.
already are privy to the fact that it takes repetition to really train your audience around a certain thing. Well,
Mm.
so too does it take repetition around training your like telling your audience about who you are. You might be surprised.
Mhm.
I'm willing to bet that probably 90% of your audience doesn't really know kind of like who you are and what you've been through. So you have you actually have a great starting point because you have a little bit of an audience that already is interested in who you are and what you do, but you have the opportunity to go way deeper with them and bring
Mm.
them really into your life and your psyche and just build depth there. And the reason that's important is because remember, you'll go in their mind from someone who's selling something to someone who's just like, you're becoming that resource. Give the Mother's Day
Mm.
stock away, give all the other stocks, so give those picks away and have them be
Mm.
like, yo, you gotta follow this cat because man, he's just like he gives the game away for free. And like that also subconsciously communicates that you're really confident in your own value because like
Mm.
that's what I've done and have done and will always do for years. Like I just give away my best shit for free. I created this as an experiment because I wanted to see if I had the opportunity to go really deep because for as much value as I give away, like I can't do 30-minute one-on-ones with a ton of people. I can do it
Yep.
now, but it's hard to, it's hard to do on Instagram. So I created this product
Mm.
to experiment and it's gone well, but by and large, the more value you're putting it out there, you're putting that out there. Let's fast forward a little bit and play it out to see how it goes. So then
Mm. Mm.
the same people that you have signed up for your course right now, right? Like
Yep. Yep.
the broke millennial, like the same like experts you have.
Yep.
What I want you to do is, to me, the more valuable thing. It's one thing, it's good to have them on your course and they help you make money. But the more valuable thing is actually tapping into their audiences.
Yep.
So doing interviews, and that's low hanging fruit.
Mm.
I mean, about that stuff, but
Mm.
when you're doing collaborations with these people, then you have the opportunity to bring some of their audience over into your world, okay?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if you have your
Mhm.
world set up, so to speak, your world, your page, your bio, all this other stuff, if you have it set up
Yep.
such that you're leading with, like, who you are and all the stuff that we talked about,
Mm.
there's
Mm.
there's an increased
Mm.
probability that they'll stick around. They're gonna be like, "Yo, this is awesome."
Yep.
They're clicking
That's
through, and
true.
now they're in your universe, okay? And
That's
then
true.
you're nurturing them, with the content, you're nurturing them, which you already do. You already have
Mm.
fantastic curation. You already, you already mix it up well. I mean, you have all the basics down in this space. I think,
Mm.
and the reason I led with what I did is because I really think that if you take care to incorporate more of who you are and your why, that will make
Mhm.
your brand stand out. People will go from
Absolutely.
yo, yeah, he sells stock courses to, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, huh? Dr. Hans? Oh yeah, yeah, I know his story. He's the one who
Mm.
came from
Mm.
Ghana
Mm.
and da 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 and got into this and now he's
Mm.
doing
Mm.
that. That guy, right? Oh yeah, yeah,
Mm.
him.
Mm. Mm.
Just like, by the way, people with me say, "Oh yeah, yeah, John Henry. Oh yeah, yo, I love his story, man. He was a doorman and now he's a landlord." Like
Yep. Yep.
he did
Yep.
this and did so that's where the brand really is. How different
Mm.
is your story? Brand is not,
Mm.
hey, he sells courses. Brand is, yo, his story's so different. I got to tell you about it. And that, when you are able to achieve that moment, when people are just like, yeah, have you heard of this guy? And then fill in the blank.
Mm.
That when you slip into the conversation, that is when you're
Yep.
building brand. And you're already doing
Mm.
that because for you to have gotten to where you are now, definitely there were some people sharing, but
Mm.
you'll really begin to optimize for that the more you lead with who you are and your story and all this stuff. And then you start getting those opportunities like, hey, Dr. Hans, listen, we're doing an investment conference
Mm.
for Africa. We're looking for a speaker. Listen, we don't have budget for this
Mm.
one, but there's,
Mm.
we have 500 attendees and we have a nice venue. Would you like to do it?
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. You go, you do it, you make sure you record it, and then, you record yourself in a nice venue delivering your keynote address, then you package
Yep.
that and you're sharing those bits of content. But then, by the way, now we'll get into the money piece, right? Because I understand we're looking to build businesses and financial independence. So then once you capture yourself in that light that you are a speaker, that you go and you speak about these things, all it takes is a few of them, right? For you
Yep.
to, as long as you record them and capture it, and then you communicate to the world at large that you do this by sharing it,
Yep.
then you
Yep.
start being seen that way. Oh, yeah, yeah, Dr. Hans,
Mm.
oh, he's so good,
Mm.
man. He
Mm.
really has a way with, especially with, Ghanaians, but even you'll be flexible. You can fit into the
Yep.
black in America bucket. You can fit into
Yep.
the, African empowerment bucket. You can fit into the,
Yep.
building wealth. There's a bunch of buckets you'll fit into, right? There's a bunch of buckets I
Mm.
fit into. Diverse millennial, whatever. And
Yep.
what will happen is you'll start getting those and you'll do a number of them for free. And you should, because what you want to do first is just get your reps up, you know,
Mm.
because your first talk is not going to be so smooth, you know, then your
Mm.
second talk and your third. And what you're doing is you're dialing in your messaging, you're figuring out that cadence, your little punchlines, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
and then you'll know when you got it because your volume is really gonna be growing, and that's when you experiment
Mhm.
with charging, okay? And
Gotcha.
then I'm gonna take it to the next level, right? Which once you start charging, my first one I did $100. Then the next one I did 1,000. I was like, "Oh shit." Then I tried to do
Mm.
1,000 again, and they were like, "No, I'm sorry. We only have $400." And then I did 400. And then you
Mm.
ebb and you flow, and it's really more about just going through the act of being paid to speak is a whole new thing because then there's a little bit more pressure and stuff. But then after a while, once you have enough volume, you will be able to be represented by an agent, right? An agent
Mm.
works
Mhm.
purely on commission, but they only take on people that they know that they can sell.
Mm.
You need to fit a certain spot in their roster.
Mm.
Right? They might have the white girl that does whatever. They might have the Gary V's. Like, I'm signed to Gary V's agency, right? So on
Mm.
on Gary V's agency, I'm the young, entrepreneur of color that's a fucking badass, right? Like, that's how they pitch me, let's say. Um,
Yep.
and along with where you fit in terms of your story on the roster, there's also where you fit in terms of price point. Okay.
Mm.
So for the longest, I'd been paid like 1,000. Then I got to kind of 3,500. Then I had an agent, and he kind of brought me up to the $5,000 mark. And then I started getting, just because by the virtue of you sharing more content. Remember, you're sharing it, you're giving the info away, you're becoming more popular because you tell
Yep.
me you're gonna you're going to become more popular than someone who's withholding the information and selling it
Yep.
just by virtue of
Yep.
the fact that more people are just going to consume shit that's free, right?
Absolutely.
So now you're going to
Absolutely.
be selling less courses to start, but guess what? As your popularity surges and you become that fucking dude, and then
Mm.
you are the guy. Trust me, you will be the guy that people are like, yo, if you're having a seminar or a conference around investing, it's not a
Mm.
conference unless you have this guy, right?
Yep.
Once you start
Yep.
occupying that space, then then your rate starts to go up. And I told my agent
Mhm.
Zach, I was like, yo, look, I'm not trying to be, the Gary V's of the world charging 150 grand a talk, which, by the way, that's how much he charges. I told him I want to sit. I'm okay being at 10K a pop.
Mm. Mm.
I'll be on the bottom end of your roster. I'll do 10K a pop. I'll take any talk. It don't matter where it is. It don't matter if they're back to back, anytime, I'm fucking doing them. And that's how I
Mm.
pitched myself, and I landed myself a spot on that roster. And just, the combination of my own inbound, when you get the inbound, I still send it to Zach. Technically, I don't have to pay a commission on what is inbound to me, but I want to
Yep.
nurture the relationship and let him know that I got him. So I
Mm.
started
Mm.
sending over all my work, even though I didn't have to take a 20% haircut on it, because that's how much he makes, 20%. Right.
Mm.
But now, just by me giving him all my work, he starts he starts putting me up, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm starting to fill that spot in his mind too, where it's like, all right, John looks
Yep.
out,
Yep.
let me look out. And
For sure.
what happens is, 10 racks a pop, bro. The talk is 1 hour.
Mm.
I was doing 4 talks a month before COVID.
Wow. Wow.
So that you got to sell a lot of courses to get there. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Sure.
and then, by the way, once you have that popular, if you then reopen a course, you can
Mm.
sell way more at a higher price
Mm.
point too, once you have that brand
Absolutely.
and that trust. So, thank you for letting me go on at length. I do want to also hear your thoughts and whatever questions you may have. But I was on a roll
Yeah.
there because I really saw a lot of similarities to where my persona was at one point. And I really do
Mm.
think that just making that tweak and leading with like your personal story and all that kind of stuff,
Mm.
that will
Yep.
get you to, in it by itself, you'll stand out way above all the other people that have like financial academies.
Yep. 100%. I think you're right. In the beginning, when you started, I was like, no, I don't. In my mind, I was like, no, I don't typically sell, 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 sell. Like I rarely do. Obviously, it's because there's a summit right now. But
Right, right,
I was
right.
like, no, take your time, listen to what, John has to say. In my mind, I'm thinking that because I'm not the pitch kind of guy or consistently pitching.
Mhm.
My feed might look like that because of the summit, but overall, what you've said is true because people resonate when I share more of the personal stuff. Like if you look at my feed, the most recent picture that I shared with me and my wife and our newborn, um, man, it did incredibly well, right? And
Wow.
I mean,
Congratulations, by the way.
it
Congratulations on the newborn.
yeah, thank you so much. It did really well. So yes, people do love that more of the personal touch. Another thing to confirm what you shared is I started doing Instagram lives about a month ago where
Mhm.
I literally answer questions on the spot. I can analyze stocks for people, which I've never done for like the
Mm,
past 3 years. And
mhm.
and so people were actually shocked that I could analyze stocks for them on the spot, let them know my thoughts. And I
Mhm.
was even surprised they were like, so all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, Hans, like it became like I was like, why haven't you been doing more of
Mm,
these live or Q&As or the
mhm.
ability to give your opinion on stocks that people are looking at, right?
Exactly. Yep. Mhm.
And so you make such a very good point, and the Mother's Day point is also well taken. I had just gotten community, and I was like, what can I put out to get people on my community number?
Right.
And that was the idea, and I led with that. But you're so right. If I'd given the stocks away and went in depth like I did on community, it would have even blown out even more, right? Because more
Right.
people would want to share it for others, and
Exactly.
it's such a very good point, and it's well received. So yeah, thank you so much. This was
No, I
very
love it.
worth
I
it.
love it. And bro, now on that point of like doing the IG live dissecting stocks, see, I didn't even know you had it like that, right? Like in terms of the chops. So
Yeah.
if you're like, I love that. If you're so like confident that you're like, you know what? All these fake gurus, like I bet you a lot of the fake gurus couldn't dissect stocks on the spot. So
Oh,
that's
I
a
can.
that's a awesome
Hmm.
like pillar
Hmm.
series to develop, right? Like
Mm.
a
Mm.
new franchise. Like you see I do them all the time, Dropout School or whatever.
Yep.
I'm constantly experimenting
Yep.
with these new franchises. That would be an awesome thing where it's a pretty
Mm.
light lift. You record it, you save it,
Mm,
and then, I can share my framework. I pay someone $500 a month, and they produce about 20 to 25 pieces of content for me. Um,
mm,
and but it only works, which is great because it helps me get to scale, and I don't have to do it.
mhm.
But it only works when there's content that they can pull from, right?
Yes.
So you got to have
Yeah.
archived content. So then the
Mm,
question is, well, what is it that I'm going to archive? Well, you can do a number of them. When you get busier speaking, that will be archived content that they can pull from. But what
yep.
right now, what you have directly in your control is, I love it. Let's do these IG lives and just break down stocks, and then get people to
Yep.
jump in. And
Mhm.
oh my gosh, that in and of itself can be a content
I,
engine where people are like, yo, this
I,
motherfucker knows his shit. You gotta follow this guy. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Like people were commenting, dang, Dr. Hans, you know your stuff. And I was surprised. I was like, come on, guys, you've been following me. Of course I know my stuff. But
Right, right, right.
like, literally, John, and I know it's time, but I spend at least 2 hours every single day knowing like how the US economy is working, what's
Wow.
going on with businesses every single day. If I don't spend at least an hour to 2 hours, I cannot go to bed. So,
I love it, man.
so
And by the way, just sharing that is awesome.
mm,
Like, you know, like
mhm,
like
yep,
people, yeah, like, hey guys, listen. People ask how I know, because I spent the last
mm,
11 years every, 2 hours a day reading about,
yep,
and like that kind of thing where you'll share it in little bits and pieces over time. And if your
yeah.
own audience was surprised at how much you know, then I think that's very astute from you to take that as market feedback, that there's room to build a
Yep.
lot more depth there with your audience.
That's why what you said really resonated with me because I was like, yeah, like it's true because I was surprised they were surprised.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Like, wait, what? Like, people were like, whoa, I did. Like, on the spot, like, this person's like Boeing, this person's like another stock.
Mm,
And I'm just with them, like. And yeah, but yeah, thank you so much. And also, I don't know if you wanted to send it to me via email or how to get it, but the person who can kind of chop things up, I think if I could have an idea of where to find someone like that, I think it would be very good so
got
that
you.
as I create then I could, reach out to someone like that to help me with,
Ab-
split.
Absolutely. And absolutely. And the pricing is going to be probably a little different for you because I have a little bit more leverage, so that they'll usually
Oh,
make stuff
sure,
for cheaper. However,
sure.
I'm 100% always happy to share my resources. So I will share. Honestly, I've used a bunch of cats over time. So you can kind of look through
Mm,
them and
mm,
see who you like and see who you
will
click
do,
with and
will do,
whatever. But absolutely, man, happy to
will
do that.
do. Thank you so much, and I appreciate this call. It's so good. Thank you.
I
And
love
if
it,
you have
man.
any more calls in the future, please, reach out to us, the people who signed up for this first, so we
I
can
love
grab the slots.
I love it, man. Thank you so much. Looking forward to be connected,
Yeah,
and hit
thank
me
you.
anytime, man. My inbox is always open to you.
Will do. Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.